Good afternoon and welcome to today's very special edition of Leader Lunch Break as we recognize the significance of this date, June 19th or Juneteenth. When we thought about how to celebrate and honor what this day represents, we could think of no better person to share the message than the powerhouse behind one of Cleveland's most impactful nonprofits, the Urban League of Greater Cleveland. And that power horse is, of course, Marsha Mockabee. When named president and CEO in 2011, Ms. Mockabee became the first woman to lead the organization in its then 103-year history. And she brought with her a passion to empower Cleveland's African-American community to develop and exercise their potential, a passion hewed through 17 years at the League, developing programs for youth, parents, and community members. With a get-to-yes mindset, Marsha channeled her energies and passions into rebuilding of our Urban League to the widely respected organization it is today, so much so that it was selected as the site for the National Urban League Conference in 2025, truly the crown jewel of this incredible leader. On the local, regional, and even national front, she is widely recognized as a skilled community convener and is a formidable force in this arena, having led numerous collaborations on economic and educational parity, including the National Urban League's Education and Jobs Task Forces, Equity, Excellence in Education Initiative for the state of Ohio, and racism as a public health issue in our own Cleveland. Her honors and awards are numerous and include recognition as a Crain's Businesswoman of Note, Professional Woman of the Year from the Woman of Color Foundation, selection as National Woman of Power and Influence at the National Urban League Conference, and Woman of Achievement by the Cleveland YWCA, to name just a few. Called a tender-hearted strategist for tough times ahead in Phenomenal Woman magazine, she was just that for Cleveland's Urban League and was known on her board as the Recovery Chief. A servant leader, she firmly believes that to whom much is given, much is required. We have required a lot of this leader, and she has risen to every occasion. Appropriate for Juneteenth, she acknowledges that the historic figure who inspires her most is Harriet Tubman. We're proud to call her an alum of Leadership Cleveland 2013. Marsha, thank you for joining us today.
Marianne, I'm going to go get the person that you introduced and bring her to the stage. Okay. I'm humbled and honored to be with you today. And, you know, behind one of my favorite artists, hearing his music and then that introduction, I need to take a moment to collect myself. I'm honored, first of all, to be an alum of Leadership Cleveland, class of 2013, best class ever. And absolutely among all the other best classes ever. And I'm really honored to be with you today. And I want to wish everyone happy Juneteenth today. Okay. I've been celebrating since last week. We were involved in a very big community celebration in downtown Cleveland that we helped to co-sponsor on last Saturday. And it was an amazing event. We had a great time, wonderful turnout. So I'm still celebrating. So my privilege today is really to share with you the work that I'm honored to be assigned to. I look at the work that I do as a divine assignment. And I'm honored to be able to do what I do every day. And just very, very thankful for the board that I have that supports the work of the Urban League, as well as the amazing staff. I call my staff family. They're there day and night on behalf of the constituents that they serve. And when I say day and night, I don't mean that figuratively, I mean literally. They receive calls from clients, especially in our youth area. Weekends, evenings, they answer the call and they're there to serve in any way that they need to. And so just very thankful to be that they allow me to lead them and that they willingly follow and that we are blessed to serve our community. So to get right to the task for today is to share some things with you So I'll just give a quick overview of the major things that I've been working on in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and racism is a public health crisis, so I'll start there. I have been honored to serve as the co-chair along with my amazing co-chair, Helen Forbes Fields at the YWCA. We've been co-chairing the work of the city of Cleveland, where racism was declared as a public health crisis by city council. And I've been doing the work the longest. I've been co-chairing for 3 years. The Urban League was also the fiscal agent for the public-private partnership. And so we're very thankful for that work that we've been doing. And you're going to hear more about that because we're wrapping up what we call phase 1 of the work. We've had over 40 individuals that we have been working in a steering committee with to actually look at data over 5 pillars that were chosen for racism as a public health crisis. We use results-based accountability format to determine the actual indices that we would look at in each of those pillars. We've had community meetings, and we'll be having a big rollout of that, which is why I won't spend a lot of time today on that. And there will be a town hall meeting to which all of you will certainly be invited and encouraged to participate. So that's one bit of work that under the banner of our racism as a public health crisis and our banner of really making sure that we're involved in things that are around social justice and civil rights. That's part of our mission statement. Additionally, and I see some other friends, all kinds of friends here on the screen who I'm involved with in other work. I see my friends from Case Western Reserve, where I'm serving on the NSF Engines planning group for a major project that we are trying to bring to this region that would allow us to really move some things forward in a technical space where we would be advancing technologies around various metals, alloys, various kinds of things. Again, I'm not going to talk much about that today because I'm going to leave that to my experts to share our talking points on that. But we're there making sure that equity is at the center of the proposal that we're putting forward, and I'm proud to be a part of that effort. Additionally, finally, today I'm going to really talk about our Equity Institute. We had the pleasure of having Mark Morial, our national president of the National Urban League, in last week, and we had 2 major events last week. One, which was a convening with CEOs, and then we have a Chief Diversity Officer collective, which is comprised of individuals who are actually doing the work in organizations, and I see a few of those people on the screen as well, in organizations. And so you're going to see some clips and a few highlights from those events. And I thought that would be a good way to set this up and give you a little bit more and have you have a chance to ask questions. So Rachel, if you would share the video, please.
We're so excited to have my national leader in the room.
Showcase the Equity Institute.
Absolutely.
It's a strong thing, and I really enjoy looking at how you have it framed. And I think other affiliates who are searching for what's the best way to position myself, what's the best way to have an impact, what's the best way to support the community and to support the business community in this journey, could look at what you're doing here and replicate it. In many respects, we should think of what we now talk about DEI as the honoring of and the implementation of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. In many respects, the attacks on DE&I are attacks on the progress of the last 60 years. Somehow a notion that if we could just go back to America of the 1950s, we'd be better off. I would encourage us to think about DE&I as ensuring that everyone has access to the American dream. I'm not going to give 1 inch on the fundamental premise that the doors to opportunity ought to be meaningfully open to all. And I think your Equity Institute can sharpen that here in Cleveland and in this region. What is the business case for including everyone in economic opportunities? The most prevalent misconception is that to achieve diversity, you have to lower your standards. That is an argument of subconscious bias. See, what's wonderful and powerful about the Civil Rights Act of '64 is that it was passed by Republicans and Democrats. Every single civil rights bill that's passed in the 20th century, the Civil Rights Act of '64, the Voting Rights Act, the Fair Housing Act, the Americans with Disabilities law, the Voting Rights Act extensions, first 172 signed by Nixon, right? Second 182 signed by Reagan. The next one, 2006, signed by Bush. It's always been, it is only now, right, that the partisan edge has been put on these issues. And we have to remind people in history that the notion of racial fairness and justice and gender fairness and justice have generally been multi-partisan in the 20th century, right? And that's where I think the business community's voice is. I think the business community say, hold on, we speak for us. We know what we need when it comes to hiring. We know who our customers are. We know you can't come in and interrupt our commitment because we're trying to include everyone because everyone's our customer, right?
Right.
We have to appeal to broad segments of people in order to be profitable and successful.
Sure.
So we have to have broad segment of people working and leading our companies.
Thank you, Rachel, so much. So I want you all to know that you're the very first group to see this video. This is hot off the press. I just received it this morning from my marketing and PR team. And when I saw it, I said, I've got to share it on this talk today. So you're the very first to see it. Please note that you heard Mark Morial, you saw me sitting there. We actually were having a fireside chat. So I was actually asking him questions, but we decided for the length of the video that his answers were more important than my questions. So we decided to cut those out. So just for context, I just wanted to share that. So I want to wrap up with a couple of things. In the National Urban League agenda, we have something called the D3 agenda. And in that agenda, the 3 components are defend democracy, demand diversity, and defeat poverty. Those are the 3 areas of our D3 nationally. There are 93 affiliates across the country, and all of us are implementing that in some way. So when we had Mark here last week, we actually were focusing on the demand diversity component in the things that we had him involved in. We were also, you may have seen some of the media coverage of the expungement project in the state of Ohio that several of our affiliates were leading. and we hosted the rollout here in Cleveland at the Cleveland Brown Stadium. So, the thing that I'm just so appreciative of, as I mentioned, like the invitation that we've had to work with our colleagues at Case Western Reserve. We've had others that we've worked with, Team Neo. We've worked with Magnet, other entities, to sit at the table with them as thought leaders around economic development for our region, but making sure that our role at the table is to really be that clarion voice and that accountability partner around making sure that equity is at the center of what we're doing. And so very pleased to have the Urban League be in that position and to be able to make that kind of contribution. I will say that our programs and services at the Urban League are all aligned around defeating poverty. And of course, on the defending democracy, this is one of the most important elections ever. And so we are very, very engaged in making sure that voter education and voter turnout are the key issues that we're working on with respect to that. So I think I've given you a smorgasbord to kind of sample from. So at this point, Mary Ann and Rachel, we'll turn it over and be ready to serve in terms of questions.
Marsha, thank you so much. So with the work that you are doing in all of the different parts of the community you have touched, where do you see some of the biggest barriers in Cleveland in truly advancing equity?
So clearly the attack on DE&I that is occurring in our, that first started with our colleges and universities, that is huge. That's a huge place that is creating barriers. And we're seeing the loss of many of our DE&I professionals in that space as a result of that. The other thing is legislation that has happened and letters that went out to hundreds of our corporate leaders, almost saying to them that if they did not remove DE&I, from their language, their recruitment language, and all of those kinds of things, that they could possibly be sued. So with and so when you saw the video, you saw that the piece that we had on the visual showed a tornado. So, we're looking at a storm, that we're really, trying to deal with, and navigating those winds of change is really what we're doing. And so it's really just, so that's sort of the nugget of it, but let me tell you how encouraged I am. The CEO convening that we had, the Chief Diversity Officer collective that we have, there are folks that I call our champions, who are courageous champions, who are saying, you know what, in spite of all of that, we know that for the business case, that equity and inclusion is an important business imperative. It helps our businesses to be better. And we want to continue to move forward and make sure that we don't lose ground on what we've been able to accomplish. So I think, in this time, the challenges are really threefold. One is convening and collaborating with champions who want to stay the course. Two is really making sure that we find ways and strategies that we can give to chief diversity officers and others about how they navigate the winds of change. And we're doing that through our Equity Institute in both the CDO Collective and a development academy that we are going to be launching. And then finally, I think it is really, there are so many different efforts going on right now across the city and the county and the region around dealing with racism as a public health crisis, or developing strategies for diversity, equity, and inclusion, the key is now, I think, to really try to create a collective vision across a footprint to which all of us who are doing this work can find a way that we contribute to that larger vision for major collective impact. But at the same time, it doesn't preclude us from doing the work in the way that we have been called to do our work, either by funders, by mission, or what have you.
You've mentioned a lot about coalitions and collaborations, and you are known for your abilities to build those collaborations and those efforts. So, what are some of the most impactful collaborations you've created?
So I can't necessarily take credit for actually have developed them by, certainly myself or just the Urban League, but I would say, let me answer this way. Some of the best collaborations or collective impact models, which are a little bit different that we're working in, are ones where there's a strong backbone organization or a strong organization that is responsible for really sort of managing the day-to-day of the work, keeping the momentum moving, caring for the connections to all of the components of the coalition or the collaborative. And I think for those of us who first came into this work, we had some real aha moments, because when you're managing a project or an initiative, that's one kind of management style and management process. When you are managing a collective or a collaborative or an impact group that is even broader than that, those folks don't work for you. You don't have any influence over their day-to-day. They come as volunteers to the work. And so it's both an art and a science as to how you create an equitable opportunity for them to participate that makes them feel valued, makes them feel that they also own it, so that they will continue to stay at the table and be engaged.
So, curious, looking to the Urban League, how might the Urban League be engaging with the Divine Nine in defending democracy?
Excellent. We are actually in the process now of convening with the leadership of Judge Ron Adrien. We're collaborating a community group, a response, and it's not just the Divine Nine, it's other social groups that care about this work and are focused on empowering our community. So the NAACP is a part of it. Our faith-based institutions are a part of it. And so again, that collective impact model, we're trying to gather everybody under a large tent who are synergistic in this work and who don't care who gets the credit, that we just want to make sure we get the outcome. And so we're in the process of convening folks. And what we've learned is, in order for people to say yes, the vision has to be clear. The vision of what we're trying to accomplish, and how will we know when we're making progress? And so we're in the process of putting that together, and people need tools to work with. So that's the stage that we're in around really reclaiming our vote and making sure that people understand the importance of their voice, and selecting and deciding how to vote, that they are analyzing the agenda of every candidate against what's important to them and their community.
So let's look ahead to 2025. What is your hope for the national conference here in Cleveland?
Oh my, that we just have a major turnout. Let me tell you, the conference this year is in New Orleans, and it has been sold out for over a month. And for those of you, when you saw the picture of myself and Kevin Clayton, we have that picture together because he's my board chair. And an amazing board chair he is. And I know he's done some amazing work also in his year in Leadership Cleveland and in that work. Kevin, Kevin, you all probably know Kevin's a pretty competitive guy. So based on the work that he does with the Cavaliers, so he's thrown down the gauntlet and said things like, we're going to have a bigger conference than New Orleans. I'm like, brother, I think you might want to bring that down a notch, but we're excited. The why Cleveland, everybody that has come to Cleveland to see why they should come to Cleveland for the conference has been blown away. Mark was very impressed when he was here with the events that we had and everything that he got to see in Cleveland. He hasn't been here for probably about 6 or 7 years now. And then also his team, they were like, we love Cleveland. There's so much to do here. They said, yeah, we've been trying to tell you all. Okay. So we're very excited. What we hope is we will have a record number of visitors. People will spend a lot of money. And I'm very excited because the first night, the opening night of the conference, which will be July 16th of 2025, we have something called our host welcome night. And that's an event that the Urban League of Greater Cleveland owns. And that event is going to be at the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. So I'm envisioning my biggest party ever in the city of Cleveland to celebrate with all of you and our community and all of our hopefully 5,000 plus visitors that come to Cleveland, the magic that is Cleveland, and celebrating the whole Urban League agenda and the fact that, there's still much work to do and we together can get it done.
So here's a question more about your leadership. How do you manage to inspire and lead an organization, be involved in so many initiatives, serve on boards, and still find time to recharge?
Well, you're assuming that I find time to recharge. That the jury's out on that one. So let me say this. First of all, I always am going to be faithful to this. I'm a person of strong faith. And because I know this is a divine assignment, my energy, my capacity is about my faith connection. So, but on the natural level, I'm learning more that I have to be cognizant of what my earthly capacity is, what my real capacity is, and I have to be able to build bench strength under me, beside me, around me, in order to help me to meet all the many demands that the community has. So I'm learning that it's not come easy. It's not, I'm an only child. So, I've been doing stuff myself for a long time, but, it's something that I'm learning. And I know for the good of my organization, for the legacy of the organization and the continuation of the organization, having a strong second level bench is very important. So we're now focusing on trying to make sure we get that in place.
As you look ahead with all of the initiatives that you are a part of, what is the vision for your leadership moving forward, and how can we help you reach that vision?
Wow, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So our organization is developing a leadership transition plan. And we're still deciding exactly the right timing of what that's going to look like. But, we're talking in the next couple of years, so I think Where the community can be really, really helpful is to continue to partner with us, continue to find ways to support the work that we're doing, and really help. My vision is that the Urban League becomes the preeminent empowerment organization for Black Americans in the city. And I'm unapologetic about that, because every other constituent group who serves a constituent, the Asian community has that kind of organization, the Jewish community, nobody questions that. And so I'm going to be unapologetic about our role in this community. Now, do we turn people away? Absolutely not. Any underserved, underrepresented, anybody who comes through our door, if they want our help, we're happy to serve. But, you know, our key mission is to serve the needs of Black Americans and making sure that the doors of opportunity, as you heard Mark Morial talk about, those doors of opportunity will continue to be available for them to be able to reach the American dream. And that's our work every day.
That's beautiful, Marsha. Thank you so very much for your inspiration today and for helping us to honor what is a very important day in America's history. We're so grateful for your time. And thank you for all that you do for our community and the Ohio community and even the national community every day.